we'll be discussing the various software testing techniques. Before we jump into the various techniques, I just wanted to ask you guys, what do you understand by testing with respect to? Actually, I'll keep switching between the Zoom meeting and the presentation because I would love to see everybody's face. Okay, so what do you think the real motive behind testing is? Why do you do testing? What is it that you're trying to prove, or what is it that you're trying to figure out when you're testing? Pratiksha, Mala, anybody?
I think we do this. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Reena. Sorry.
No, that's fine. You can carry on. It's okay, Nadia.
Thank you, Reena. Yeah, it's like basically the errors to correct the errors, what are all the defects, and to solve all the probabilities to make it fix it. So that is the purpose of testing.
Okay, so sorry, what's your name? Nadia.
Yeah, Nadia.
Nadia, so what is really the intent behind testing for you? Is it about proving that the product is working right? Is that a correct way to summarize it?
Yeah, like quality assurance, giving a quality assurance.
Correct. I mean, that's the byproduct of testing, right? Because you do testing, you're able to assure quality of a product, right? But what is the intent? What is it? How do you focus? How do you go into testing? In the sense of when you're testing a product, what should be your motivation? What should be your intent? Should it be about assuring that the product is working right? Do you guys agree with that, or is there anybody who disagrees with that? Anybody?
Yeah, can I? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So what I feel is that we do testing with a frame of mind that, yeah, there might be something left out, or, there must be something that we can add on, that so that the efficiency of that particular product will be good. Consumers, the customers will be happy that, things come up in a very right way. So it should be efficient. It should be good for the, customers also, and for the company as well. That what
Absolutely.
we are doing should be good, but we should have this thing in mind that nothing could be perfect. So we
correct.
have
Correct. So I think Reena is really in the ballpark area. That's exactly what your intent should be when you're testing. Your intent should be to find bugs. And because you're able to find bugs, that's when you're able to assure a high quality product. If your intent is to show that the product is working right, then you'll never find bugs. So one of the major things behind testing is never go with the intent of, hey, I want to make sure that this product is working right. That's not the intent that you should go with. Your intent should always be to show, let me find as many bugs as possible. Let me try as many scenarios as possible and try all the bugs that I can find. And then when you find these bugs, that's when you're able to actually, assure quality. So Nadia, the point that you talked about, assuring quality, that's the byproduct. And how do you achieve that byproduct? Is when you go with the intent of finding bugs. Okay. So having said that, the reason why I brought that point up was because that's why we're doing this session on software testing. You're all want to be software engineers, software quality engineers. So the reason why all of these techniques are important is because each of the techniques that I will discuss today will help you find different kind of bugs. So there is no one particular technique that you can apply to one particular type of product. All of these techniques are needed, and all of them will be needed in your future so that you're able to find bugs of different types. And that's where you'll be able to show the maximum quality of a software. So broadly, your software testing techniques are divided in two categories. One is static, the other is dynamic. Static is merely going through the software code and just reading through the code and seeing that everything is fine or not. That's it. It's something that the developers usually do, and that's one of the reasons I've not included as part of the presentation, as part of the session today. Simply because this is more of a dev sort of a work and not really that it's not really an activity that quality engineers are involved in. To give you a layman example, but before that, so there are two types. There's static testing that I just described, and there's dynamic testing where testers are more actively involved. Quality engineers are more actively involved, and that's where you really give an input. You apply testing scenarios. All of that, all of the major meat of testing really belongs to the dynamic testing. The best way to explain static and dynamic testing would be that when you order a product from Amazon, right? So it comes in this very neat package. So let's say you ordered a hair straightener. So this product is delivered to you in a very neat packet and all. So the first thing that you do is you open the packet to see and to verify that the product is correct or not. So if you ordered a hair straightener, you have to make sure that hair color to nahi aaya. So that's very, very important. So this is what you call as static testing. That it is about verifying that what you ordered was same hai ki nahi. So the same goes with static testing, where we just review the code. We will open the product and you'll just make sure that, okay, the hair straightener that I ordered, is it the same brand that I ordered or not? And instead of Philips, is it Crompton Greaves or something? Right? And then you'll also make sure that it has all of the attachments that it needs to have, that it promised on the website. Are those there or not? So this is like the verification process. You're going through a checklist, you're making sure that, okay, this is what I ordered, this is what I got, is it matching or not? Right? So that constitutes as static testing. Dynamic testing then would incur where you actually plug in the hair straightener to see whether it works or not. You check that if I put my hair through the straightener for 3 seconds, does it straighten my hair or not? At what point, at how many seconds does my hair actually start burning? What time, at what, what's the time duration after which my hair will start getting damaged by the straightener? So that is more of dynamic testing, because there is an input which is involved from your end, which results in a particular output. All right. So that's briefly the difference between static and dynamic testing. So boundary value testing or boundary value analysis, the intent behind boundary value testing is that, in boundary value testing, what we do is we test around the boundary values. Okay. The point of transition, basically. I know this sounds very generic, but let me elaborate on that. Now, it's about testing at the very edge of the application. For example, let's say there's an application which will only allow you to register if you're above the age of 18. So boundary value analysis would require you to do testing where if you are 17 years, are you able to register yourself? The input is that you put in your age as 17 years. In this case, what should be the output? Can anybody tell? Should I be allowed to register if I'm 17 years old?
No.
No, right? If I'm 18 years old, should I be allowed to register?
Yes.
Yeah, and then 19 again, I should be allowed to register. So it is around this that we test. But the question is, why do we test around these specific values? Because these are the critical values. This is where the code normally breaks. Right? If you're buying a chair, you will not only check how the wood is, but you will also check the various joints where two pieces of wood meet. Because you will assume that this is the critical part. This is where the carpenter may have made a mistake. So those are the critical, the vulnerable areas for you to emphasize upon. And that's what boundary value is. You test around various boundaries. In Microsoft Word, there is an option for you to increase the size of the text, correct? You've all used Microsoft Word. Is there anybody who's not used Microsoft Word? Okay, everybody's used it, right? So there is that text field where you can specify how big the text should be. The range is 0 to 1000. So boundary value analysis would make you test what happens if somebody puts in -1. What happens if somebody puts in the value 0? What happens if somebody puts in the value 1? And the same goes with the other value. What is the response of the code at 999, at 1000, and at 1001? Right? Coming back to that example of the age one, where you can only register if you're 17 years old. Can anybody give me another example of boundary value analysis? An example which is more accurate, if I would say.
Voting age, we can say, like,
Yeah, but voting, as in, give me a value that you would like to test with. What if you're, 17 years and 364 days old?
No, you can't.
So those are specific values that you need to emphasize upon. So it's not just about 17, 18, 19, it's also about going into the granular details. Same goes with the Word file, where I said, instead of just doing -1, 0, and 1, you can even do 0.1 to see how the application works. Or you can do 999.99, because you're right at the boundary, you're right at the edge. If you do 1000.1, should the value be accepted or not? And these are the breaking points, or these are the most vulnerable points in a code. And this is where you should, this is one of the areas where you should target, and you'll definitely find a lot of bugs, right? Okay, moving on from boundary value analysis, then is equivalence class partitioning. The idea is that you test all of the possible input values within a particular range. So in this case of the registration, where you're only able to register if you're 18, the few values we tested was 17, 18, and 19. Along with that, we also need to make sure that between the range of 0 to 17, if somebody's 13, if somebody's 10, are they able to register or not? And similarly, if somebody's 60, somebody's 80, they should be able to register. So the idea is that depending on the size of the range, you take those many values. So you can't possibly test with every single value, right? You go mad testing. Okay, if I'm 1, should I be able to register 2, 3, 4? You can't do that, right? Because the number series is infinite in this example. So instead of taking all of the numbers, you test with a certain set of numbers. You test with randomly, you can pick. There is no exact science behind it. All you can do is you can say, okay, since 0 to 17 is a smaller range, I'll take like 3, 4 values. I'll take 5, 10, and 13. But then the age group of 18 and above, and if it's age, it can go up to like 100 also. So I'll take a lot more values. I'll take a value of 21, I'll take a value of 35, 46, maybe even 100, to see that, okay, if somebody is 100 years old, they should also be able to register, right? Because there are few cases where people do cross the age of 100 also, right? So that's what equivalence partitioning is all about. It's about defining various input criteria or various testing scenarios. These can be either valid scenarios or invalid scenarios. To test valid scenarios in this case being, anybody who's above the age 18, so positive scenarios, and making sure that they're able to register themselves. And then invalid scenarios would be, anybody who's less than 18 and they should not be able to register themselves. All right, quick quiz. White box testing. Can anybody tell me another name for white box testing?
Glass testing.
Correct. Glass box testing, because the idea is that you can see inside what the code is and all. Black box, if it's the box which is all black, you can't see what is inside, so you don't know what the code is. That's the intent. Okay.
It can be structural also.
Yeah, structure also. Correct. Second question, testing that involves the execution of the software or a component or system is known as static testing. In static testing, do we do execution of a software? True or false?
False.
False. Static testing, we only review the code, right? We don't do any execution. Yeah, verification. Static is verification. You are verifying. कोई Amazon पे
verification.
checking if my product is correct or not. उन्होंने hair straightener भेजा है या उन्होंने hair color भेजा है, right? You're verifying that. And Philips को order करा था. Philips, is it Philips or is it some other company? Okay. In what type of testing internal working of the system is tested?
Dynamic.
Options: white box and black box. In which one do you check the flow?
Black box.
White box, right?
Black
Like
box.
I said, on the black box, you don't check the code because you can't see the code,
Oh,
right? In white box, you see the code. Because you can see the code, you see the internal functioning, you see the internal flow of the application. Okay. You know that example that I gave you of engine? When you switch on, if you're not standing with the hood open, looking at the engine, you're not doing white box testing. If you're just sitting in the car and switching on the engine, you're doing black box testing. Okay. Do race conditions, does race condition fall under white box testing?
No, black box.
What does it fall under? Is it white box or black box?
Black
Bala?
box.
Okay, yeah, it's black box. That's fine, don't worry about it. Okay. All right, last question. Does two software testing techniques help you find specific types of defect? Mala? Sorry, let me go back to the question. Software technique testing helps to find a specific type of defect. Like each technique that I've described helps you find a different type of defect. True or false?
True.
Correct. True. Okay. All right. So that was the end of the session.